This is The Speaking Show. I'm David Newman, and you're tuned in to the #1 podcast for speakers, consultants, and experts who want to speak more profitably. I know you have a book, you don't have a book, you've written a book, you're not using the book, you have no idea how to start your book, you have no idea what to do with the book you have. Don't worry, you're in the right spot. The awesome and amazing Stephanie Chandler is here to talk about how consultants can maximize their publishing mojo. Welcome, my friend.
Yay. Thank you, David. So good to be here.
So we're just going to dive into the deep end because half of these consultants and experts and speakers and trainers, they have what I call an underpotentialized book. The other half of them either have no book or a new book. And we need to just unpack all of this. Let's first talk about just the value. This is like a Denzel Washington, right? Hey, tell it to me like I'm a fifth grader.
Yeah.
So the Denzel Washington, why do consultants want to be authors? Why is that important to their platform?
Number one is credibility. That's a huge deal. And a book is like instant credibility. It allows you to raise your rates. It changes the way your potential clients view you. I mean, it's essential for consultants and for speakers.
So we have a book that came out a couple years ago. Let's even give them the benefit of the doubt and say, it's a good book. It's a good book. What can consultants and speakers do with some existing publishing assets that they never thought to do before the book came out? They never thought to do during their book launch, and they're certainly not thinking of now, and they feel that they missed the boat because they undermarketed or mismarketed their most recent book.
What a great question. I'll tell you what most authors are underutilizing right now are Amazon ads. So Amazon ads, you have to work with your publisher if you're traditionally published and have them do them for you. If you are self-published or hybrid published, you can do them yourself. Amazon ads are incredible. They're a game changer. We have a client who just did his memoir. It came out in February. In his first 6 months, he sold 20,000 copies using nothing but Amazon ads. And it's a memoir. It's a memoir, David. Those are hard to sell. It is a good memoir. It's about gambling and betting on a filly to win the Kentucky Derby and the Mexican drug cartel. And it's a great story. But the bottom line is Amazon ads work. They're pay-per-click based. And every author, especially prescriptive nonfiction, those are great books to have up on Amazon ads.
Can we dig into a little bit of Amazon ads magic here?
Yeah.
Okay. So most people may or may not be familiar with Google ads, YouTube ads, Facebook ads. The pay-per-click model is you do some targeting and want to find out how targeting works on Amazon. And then you don't pay until people click on your ad, thus the name pay-per-click. So
Yep.
I've seen these ads. We've all seen these ads, right? It's the sponsored strip. And it appears lots of places, but the most obvious place is, hey, here's some sponsored recommendations based on the book that you're browsing. How do we get started? What's the interface look like? How do we kind of target competing books? How does all of this work?
Yeah, good questions. So they are click-based. So you're basically bidding on keywords, and you can literally have thousands of keywords. Amazon has a fairly intuitive dashboard where you can see keyword by keyword what the performance is. Your clicks could cost anywhere from 20 cents to $1 or more, but as long as they're converting, who cares what they cost? And what we see, so in the example of Mark Paul, whose book is The Greatest Gambling Story Ever Told, he literally rounded up several thousand keywords and went all in on those ads early on and really worked to tune them. And here's another secret that a lot of people don't know. When you publish your book on Amazon, you submit 3 suggested categories, or your publisher does this for you. Once your book is live on Amazon, you can actually ask Amazon to place it in 10 categories. This is a huge, huge secret. So go into Amazon, find 10 of Amazon categories, right? Best, small business marketing book or whatever it is. Find 10 categories, go to your Author Central account, log in, click contact us and say, hey, I'm noticing my competitors are in these categories. Could you please add my book to these 10 categories? And they will.
And that's the best approach is I've noticed some competitor books in these categories. Would you please add mine?
Yes.
You're already establishing credibility going, hey, you guys think these books are in this category. Mine is in the same category.
Yes, exactly. And honestly, even without the wording, they do it. I've never heard them say, no, we won't do it. So it's kind of one of those great little secrets. So that helps you because, and I'm not a fan of the whole game, the Amazon system, right? The goal for all of us should always be to be in the top of our best category on a consistent, ongoing basis. So these keyword ads help you do that. So what's happened with Mark Paul, he based his ads off the Kindle edition of his book, but it leads to print book sales, including his paperback and hardcover editions. So I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head, but he's seen a percentage of the print book sales in relation to the Kindle book sales, with a total of 20,000 of those sold in 6-month period. It's insane.
That really is crazy, especially
Yeah.
for that category. Like you said, with memoir, it's like, what?
Memoir's tough.
Okay, so now it's funny because you said they're based on keywords. Is there also a different kind of ad that says, hey, I know that people, like the Amazon suggestion engine, right? As a consumer, you say, hey, someone bought your book. They also bought these 3 other books. So we're both an author and a consumer. You're like, wait a second. I want to piggyback on some of this guy's traffic. I want to piggyback on some of her traffic. Can you say, when someone looks at this book, I want my ad to show up regardless of keywords?
Well, that book title becomes one of your keywords and that author becomes one of your keywords. So you want to list all of your competing authors, all the competing titles that you want your book associated with. And if it sells well enough, guess what? It's going to naturally show up in those companion recommendations.
Wow, these are like amazing ninja strategies.
Ninja, for sure.
Can you tell us a little bit, because I know that you coach your authors on all aspects of book marketing, book sales, how to revive an old book, how to write your next book so that it is already designed from the beginning to be marketing savvy and sales savvy. If we have an existing book, I want to get into new book as well, new book publishing, new book, next book. But right now, what should we be doing with our Amazon author page? What should we be doing with the Amazon marketing platform that every author gets?
Great questions. So everyone who has a book now should have an Author Central account. They're free. You claim your book there. This gives you the ability to update the content on your book's sales page. And ideally, we used to have more flexibility in Amazon. We could add keywords, we could create lists. They've taken a lot of that away. So your best bet on your book page is to be as content rich as possible. Get those keywords in there that people are searching for, work that into your text, and then also fill out your complete author bio, put your photo in there. If you get editorial reviews, you can add them to the page. And then really, David, the biggest, most important strategy for your book on Amazon is ongoing reviews. Don't just stop when you hit 30 or 50 or 100. Keep going after reviews. We believe they play a huge part in Amazon's algorithms. They don't publish their algorithms, but we believe that reviews have a significant piece of the Amazon search pie.
So it's not even about quantity, it's about recency also.
Yes, absolutely. Because that shows them that your book is still in demand, right? And the ongoing sales and ongoing reviews, those two hand in hand, it's like the chicken and the egg. But truly, if you're generating sales, Amazon's going to give your book more love, right? And if you're generating reviews, Amazon's going to give your book more love. So that's all really important.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk about new book, because this is where people start salivating. I mean, the people with an existing book, you're already kind of salivating. Now it's like, okay, hey, you know what? I'm in the pandemic zone. I got some time on my hands. I'm rebooting my business. I want to reposition around a new book or a new piece of thought leadership. Months and months and months and months before, what should we be thinking about to bake marketing and sales DNA into the next book that we're going to write?
I think the biggest mistake authors make is they write the book before they identify the target audience. And if you don't do that, it can really hurt you in the long run because your target audience dictates your marketing strategy, right? And it also dictates how your book stands out on Amazon. If you're writing another business startup guide and there's 50 of them, and I'm speaking from experience, I wrote one, it needs to stand out and be different and better than what's already available. Such a huge missed opportunity for authors. So maybe in that example, you narrow the niche. Maybe it's a business startup guide for consultants or for retail stores or for home-based bakeries or whatever it may be. If you narrow that focus, that almost always helps you be more successful, in my experience.
Hey, good looking. Are you currently getting paid to speak? Would you like to ramp that up? We can help. Book a confidential speaker strategy call with our team at doitmarketing.com/call, and let's see what we might do together. The call is free, but the results may be priceless. I want to pull out an oldie but a goodie, and I'm pretty sure you believe in this quote, but it's an oldie and goodie from Seth Godin. He says that a lot of authors make the mistake of writing books and then trying to find readers. And he says what you really should do is find a bunch of readers and write the book they want to buy. How do we find the group of readers? How do we find that niche? How do we find that hungry tribe, that hungry target market that really needs and wants the exact expertise that we're going to put into our next book?
Well, I think it starts with figuring out who you're passionate about working with. In my own life, I started out as a small business consultant, right? I was consulting with all kinds of small businesses. It wasn't very niche focused. I enjoyed what I did. But, as time went on, I realized there was a thread that I really was drawn to, and that was the authors who were business owners. And you've probably watched me make that transition. I transitioned away from being a small business blogger to being in the publishing side of the world, only nonfiction. And that is my love, my passion. I love it because I think nonfiction authors have an ability to make a dent in the world. So I think it's so important. You don't just pick an audience because they're the most lucrative or the low-hanging fruit, but you pick them because you're passionate about them, and profit follows passion.
Oh my God. Amen, amen, amen times 10. This also, I think, speaks to something that I know you're passionately against, which is writing a crappy book just to have a book out there. Give us the rant about that, because I want to immediately discourage people from doing that.
Yeah, don't rush through it just to say you have a book, because that book represents you. And if somebody reads it and they're not dazzled, you've just lost a customer, a reader, a buyer, whatever. So your book doesn't have to be long to be amazing. That's another gift from Seth Godin, right? He started writing shorter books, and shorter books right now are very much on trend. 25,000, 30,000 words is half of what a traditional book used to be. So you can do that. And here's another thing. It sounds like such an ordeal to write a whole book from scratch. But really, if you're aiming for 30,000 words and you write 1,000 words a day, that's about 3 typed pages. You have a book in a month. You have a manuscript in a month. So it's not as difficult to achieve that if you really set some goals, create a good outline, and do the work.
You're sitting on like 5 sides of the publishing table. You know how people say, well, when you sit on both sides of the table, you learn a thing or two. My friend Stephanie Chandler sitting on 5 sides of this table. So number 1, fantastic author yourself. Number 2, marketing genius. Number 3, publishing genius. Number 4, founder of the Nonfiction Authors Association. Number 5, run a publishing company.
Number 6, I used to own a bookstore.
And number 6, you used to own a bookstore. Number 7, you wrote a book on how to run your own independent bookstore. We got mutual admiration society going here. So let's take all 7 sides of that table. Yeah. You mentioned that, for example, short books are on trend. Put your publisher hat on. Put your publisher, author, coach hat on. What do we need to know about the publishing landscape 2020 and beyond? What forces are working with us, and what are some of the forces working against us? And then we'll talk about some specific little tips and tricks on how to navigate that ocean.
The fact is nonfiction sells more than fiction every year, but fiction gets all the love and the press and the media. So I think what's on trend right now is always prescriptive. Prescriptive nonfiction will always have a home.
How to.
How to. You just can't go wrong with it unless it's the same as what it's already been written. You need to set it apart. And that's also true for memoir. I mean, even if you want to write your business memoir, throw some lessons in there, and that makes it that much more marketable because now you have two different audiences. You have memoir readers and you have prescriptive readers. And I would say from the perspective of short text, you also want your text to be highly readable. You don't want it to be 3 massive chapters. You want it to be 13 short chapters. And there's a psychology behind that, right? I don't know about you, David, but when I'm reading, I like the satisfaction of hitting the end of a chapter. And if a chapter goes on and on and on and on and on, it irritates me. We are in a short attention span society. We are glued to our digital devices. We scan web pages. We also scan some books. So you want good headlines, bullets, things that break up the text and really engage your reading audience.
Talk a little bit about the book marketing landscape, because I know that most people focus on Amazon, starts there, stops there. There's there's book bloggers, there's Goodreads, which I think was bought by Amazon, I guess, but there's all kinds of, there's independent bookstores, of course, and that whole network of the independent booksellers world. What other platforms beyond Amazon are important, if any? And then what are some strategies to get some influence and build some platform in addition to what we're doing on Amazon?
The majority of books are sold on Amazon. That's just the reality. And so, that's where most of us tend to focus. We also, as an author, publisher, I have a love-hate relationship with Amazon. I don't necessarily recommend publishing directly with Amazon. A lot of opinions about Amazon.
Right.
But I also think there's a lot of opportunity outside of Amazon, especially when you're talking about tying your book into your consulting business. So I have this exercise that I really love. I call it create your tribe of influence. And if you sit down as a consultant and you go through your proverbial Rolodex, right? Everyone that you've known for your last 30, 40, 50 years, former neighbors, people you went to school with, do they work in companies where you could be hired as a consultant, or they could buy your book in bulk, or they could bring you in as a speaker? Sit down and look at who do you know that could potentially help you distribute that book, get it into more hands. Bulk book sales are a huge opportunity. So those are some of the ways to get really strategic one at a time. I think we've put way too much stock in social media. As much as I love it and I engage with it, you don't need to be on every platform. Pick 1 or 2, do those well, and pick the ones where your audience is spending time. But that is not the end all be all. And that is not necessarily where you're going to sell your books.
What a great episode. Wowza. Tell you what, if you want to ramp up your revenue as an expert who speaks professionally, you should really check out our free online training at doitmarketing.com/webinar. Let's dip into this because I know that you've done some sessions on this. You have a fantastic publishing conference for years and years where I know there have been breakouts on this. Non-bookstore, non-Amazon sales. You mentioned, for example, bulk sales, corporate sales. In the publishing world, I think they're still called special sales, right? So sponsors, I'm speaking at a big event. I want to do 1,000 copies with their logo on the cover. What are some creative non-bookstore, non-retail, non-Amazon ways to move a lot of books that your clients have had some success with?
Well, you just nailed it, especially if you're speaking. And so you're in the speaking industry, as am I, and I'm hearing companies that can't hold their events have budget to burn right now. So I've got another publisher friend. He's doing all kinds of logoed cover books, putting company logos on the cover, allowing them to insert an introduction letter at the front of the book. And he's charging thousands of dollars and doing really well with these promotional sales. So selling in bulk, finding the right opportunities. By the way, nonprofits are a great target. Large nonprofits have a budget for this kind of stuff. And if you can tie that in with some digital training or online workshops, you can create a whole new business model around your book if you really want to. Let me tell you, I've got another great example for you, David.
Sure.
So Dana Manciagli, she's a former executive from Microsoft. And I don't know, maybe 6 years ago, she called me and she said, I want to quit my job and become a job search coach. And I was like, really? Are you sure about that? You want to be a job search coach? Do you want to do executives? No, I want to be a job search coach. This is my thing. I love it. So she wrote her book. She got herself a column writing for the business journals, how to get a job. And she came out of the gate selling books like crazy. Then she went and created a course, a self-study course on how to get a job, how to do the interview, all of it, all video-based course, self-study, $1,000 a seat. She sold 50 seats in her first couple of months out of the gate. Then she said, hey, my passion is veterans. So I'm going to go to corporations and say, why don't you sponsor seats for veterans coming out of service? And I'll give you discounted seats in my course for them at $600 a seat. And she's doing six-figure deals over and over and over again on a self-study course.
All with like veterans or various nonprofits.
Not even nonprofits. She's using corporations. Microsoft was one of them that went in and said, here, we'll donate X number of seats in your course to people coming out of military service.
Wow. So she has a corporate sponsor and she's gifting the program to these various outreach associations that work with the vets.
She has multiple corporate sponsors.
Hmm.
I know, right?
I think at this point, we've lost every one of our viewers because they're all like in a different tab, furiously typing Google, sponsor, nonprofit, charitable. So let's just go down this path for a quick second. Not that we're experts on this strategy, but I love this strategy. Are we going after inside the corporations? Is it corporate social responsibility? Is it community outreach? Kind of who's the decision maker inside the company that we might want to pitch this idea to?
Well, it depends on where your book fits. So like, let's say it's a sales guide, then it's probably the VP or director of sales. And I say, hit them all, right? Because and if the VP gets it, the VP might lob it down to the director or even to a manager, but hit everybody and, look them up on LinkedIn. It's amazing how easy it is to find contacts today. It's incredible. Mail them a copy of your book. Hello, that's a door opener, right?
Yeah. Wow. Really, really exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, let's draw the thread together on what we're talking about here. Thinking about writing, launching, and marketing a new book, which is going to be the mainstay anchor of your thought leadership for the next 2 to 3 years. What are some evergreen strategies that most people don't know, but that you always recommend and that you're amazed that people don't know them and don't do them?
Ooh, evergreen strategies for book marketing. Pre-sales are a good option. You can start to build momentum for your book if you get a little bit of a runway. I don't like a huge runway, but 2 to 4
like
weeks.
a traditional book launch. Is that still a thing or is that passé?
No, it's still a thing. But what I don't like is the whole let's get it to the top of Amazon for one day, because it really doesn't have a lot of long-term value. It should be an ongoing effort.
Yeah.
And so I use this whole analogy of gardening, right? I hate gardening. And a lot of people hate marketing. I hate gardening. I don't like the dirt. I don't like the sun. I don't like heat. But I do it because I like the end result. Marketing for a lot of people should be the same thing.
Right.
Right. You may not love it, but if you walked out in your garden and you planted 3 seeds every day, over time, you're going to have an amazing garden. You know this, David. Marketing works the same way. If you plant 3 seeds every day, if you are consistently reaching out to get interviews on podcasts, contributing a guest blog post to a great site that reaches your target audience, inviting other people to your podcast or your programs, or we're doing a ton of webinars right now. Webinars have been really effective. So if you're doing things every day consistently, you have no choice but for your book to be successful. And success, by the way, I think a lot of us go into this thinking, oh, I want to sell 100,000 copies and be on the New York Times bestseller list. I think the average business book in traditional publishing world sells like 7,000 or 8,000 copies in its 5-year span. And that's successful. That's a successful business book. So set your goals lower and know that that's okay. And my final soapbox moment is I don't even care about my book sales numbers. I couldn't even tell you what they are because to me, it's all about the opportunities that they bring. I wrote one book years ago. It was called Leap, to 101 Ways to Grow Your Business. Well reviewed, did not sell well. And I'll tell you why it didn't sell well. It wasn't niched. However, it was picked up by somebody influential at a big company who then hired me on a 6-figure corporate sponsorship deal. So do I care that that book didn't sell well? No way. It brought me so many other opportunities.
That is, man, there's so many gems packed up in just that one story. One is it's not about making money from the book, it's about making money because of the book.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, and I think you and I talked about this maybe on a previous interview, either you to me or me to you, but I think it came up. All the things that we're doing to market the book are things that we should be and should have been doing all along to market our business.
Absolutely.
And so when people say, well, what's the book going to do for me? It's like, well, the book's going to get you off the couch, get you into the garden, planting the seeds in the dirt on your knees. You don't like it, but you're doing a little bit every day. And I remember this really clearly from my first book and certainly from the Do It Marketing book in January of 2020, which is a horrible time to get a book on speaking out there. But anyway, I would get up every day and I would say, what micro step do I need to do today to sell a few more copies of the book? Yeah. And if you literally think about that, you mentioned some of these webinars, podcasts, blog. What do I post on LinkedIn? What email should I send to my list this week? How can I activate some excitement or some energy? How can I bring in a guest that I'm going to feature and showcase their brilliance? And that's going to, of course, shine back on me. And of course, I am now the author of XYZ book. And every marketing and visibility strategy markets me and markets the book. And everything I do to market the book also markets me and markets my business. It really is one and the same. I think the most successful authors, and back me up here if I'm right and blow me out if I'm wrong, you look at the book as a business. Yeah. And then you look at the business as the ecosystem in which the book can thrive.
Yeah, and I'll say I especially love working with entrepreneurial authors for just that reason. They view their book as a business. And the other thing about books, I think people want to hold back their best information. Don't do that. Give your readers everything. Give them your best information. Will some go off and do it themselves? Absolutely. They probably weren't your ideal client to begin with. Will others say, oh, I don't want to do this. I want to hire you to do this? Yes. Yes, that's how it works. And, another great example is Jim Horan, who I bet a lot of your audience is familiar with. He wrote the One-Page Business Plan. It is a brilliant book. It details exactly what he was doing in his consulting business. And then he went on to certify other people to become One-Page Business Plan consultants. So they're out there selling his brand, promoting his brand. I mean, there's just so much you can do with a single book.
Yes, 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 and yes. It's like 100 different recipes for, I don't know, steak chicken. Or omelets or chicken. Exactly. It's like you got the chicken. It's like, man, you can do so much with this one little piece of chicken.
That's right.
All right. Well, let's talk not about chicken. Let's talk about your amazing gift. We talked about tribe. We talked about building your fans and your followers. And this is actually a fantastic ebook and checklist called Build Your Tribe of Influence. And we're going to have the link. We're going to send this out. You're going to see it on this page with this video. Stephanie, what are people going to find in that ebook and in that packet of resources around building their tribe of influence?
Well, this is that whole exercise of sitting down to figure out who do you know that can support your efforts with your book, with your business, and really spend the time to identify them. I went through this exercise myself when I released my last book 2 years ago now. And when I sat down and I went through emails and I kind of racked my brain, oh, wait, I used to work with her. She now works at this company. And so it was quite an enlightening experience. And I think you might surprise yourself. Maybe somebody you went to school with is now a CEO of XYZ company or the head of sales or whatever the case may be. So please, please, please do the exercise. It is super powerful.
And it's an ebook. And then is it a checklist or an infographic or what's the second piece in there?
Well, there's an infographic that kind of demonstrates it, but there's companion worksheets that you can download to track everything.
Stephanie Chandler, always awesome to talk to you. Thank you for being such a rock star.
Thanks, David. This was fun.
Well, that wraps up another episode of The Speaking Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on iTunes. Subscribe. Tell a friend. Go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thespeakingshow.com. See you next time.